Today we're sitting down with worshipful brother Mark Schnoflak and senior warden brother Ryan Schnoflak from Malone Lodge.
You're listening to The First Three Knocks, a Masonic podcast in the District of York, where we discuss topics for the betterment of Masonry. The opinions discussed in this podcast are those of the individual and do not represent the views of Grand Lodge or any other Masonic body. Now, here are your hosts.
Well, good evening, everybody. We're going to try this one more time. We sat down with these...
First time didn't go too well, did
First time didn't go too well. It was our first blip, I guess, in the 13, 14 episodes that we recorded.
Yeah, I recorded it, went home to edit it, and the file was corrupt, so we'll try this again.
Well,
I noticed also that it was our 13th episode, so maybe it's just
I know,
13th,
right? Maybe it has to do with that.
Unlucky 13.
Well, for me, 13 is a lucky number.
Oh, is
7
it?
is not a good one for us, but that's another day. We'll talk about that.
Maybe
another time.
we'll skip labeling it the 13th episode, maybe go right to 14th. So just
like
hotels
13 and a half.
skip the floor.
Yeah, I guess so.
Floor,
They still exist, though, right? Well, again, brethren, we're back here with brother Schnoflak and worshipful brother Schnoflak, and we came all the way up north this time, up to Sutton, the great white north. It's not so white anymore. It's actually nice, bright, sunny days. So it's nice to be up here, guys. You guys have a fantastic lodge up here. And again, thanks for sitting with us and just going through a few questions about where you've come through the Masonic journeys and so on and so forth. So, worshipful sir, how are you tonight?
Hey, how you doing, Gino? Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Again, we had a nice conversation last time, and it only is appropriate to have it one more time because we really want to share it with our audience out there. How did you become a Mason? What brought you to this whole craft? Tell us a bit about your journey.
It started out about 30 years ago when I was asked to become a Mason, and I met this older fella, and he wanted me to be a member. And for some reason, I just didn't join because I was a little concerned about not knowing what I was getting into, and they can't tell you, so it was kind of a gray area. So I decided that, no, I wanted nothing to do with it. And then as I went through my life, it just kept coming up. And, hey, you should be a Mason, you should be. Then finally I met a buddy of mine. I didn't even know he was a Mason. We were pals for like 10 years, and then he finally tells me he's a Mason. And he says, you should become a Mason. And I said, why? He says, you've been a Mason your whole life, you just don't know it. And the next thing you know, I joined Trillium Lodge, and the rest is history. And then I move on to Malone Lodge, come here, and next thing I know, I'm going through the chairs, and now I'm the worshipful master. It's one of those things where you never plan those things. It's just the way it happens.
I was just going to ask, when you first stepped through those doors at an apprentice, did you ever, foresee yourself going into the master's chair? Was that something in your vision? No.
Absolutely not. I didn't even see myself going through the chairs. But worshipful brother Greg Forrest came to me one day. He's a secretary for the lodge, and he says, okay, Mark, next year, he goes, we're going to put you in as junior steward. And that just started it, because what do you do after junior steward? You just next chair, next chair, next chair.
Keep progressing.
Now that you're worshipful master, it's another next chair.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And again, you just got installed as worshipful master of Malone Lodge. And a very special treat, I guess, for you is to have your son, Ryan, sit as senior warden, which only leads into next year's installation. I know we have a whole year and a whole season to really enjoy first, but next year it'll be even extra special, knowing that you both will be sitting in the East. Ryan, why don't you tell us a bit about how, again, you got into Masonry and your journey thus far?
So, I guess, for the obvious reasons, I'm watching my dad go through, he disappears every now and then, and he's gone, where is he, that kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, he's going through the motions of kind of telling me what he's doing and a little bit about it. And at the time, I was in the Royal Canadian Air Cadets. I started that when I was 12, and I guess you could say that was like my demolay. It was very there was a hierarchy to it. There was a hierarchy involved, and then there was also a lot of community service and things like that definitely were underlying concepts of both the cadets I was involved in and Masonry. And, I'm just kind of going through the motions, and I say, that sounds an awful lot like what I'm doing. That might be a good continuation, because at the time I was thinking about what my next steps were. I was getting ready to age out, so to speak. You kind of are too old for cadets there. So I was looking at the next move, and it happened to fit perfectly. So there was actually a stipulation in that, like some sort of rule we heard, where if you were a Lewis, if you were going to go in as a Lewis, then there's a potential that you could go in when you were 18. So what actually ended up happening was I ended up going down there to Gino and Steve's Trillium Lodge there, and I sat there for 2 meetings, just kind of looking at the magnificent building that was. Like, it was one of the head shrine buildings, and I was just kind of looking at the Middle Eastern motifs and the beautiful bar they had, and kind of waiting for that. And then finally they said, no, you can't actually do it. It doesn't exist. And I ended up waiting 3 years. So
you waited 3 years in the ante room, again,
I
enjoying
did, yeah.
the furniture and the charismatic building outside the actual lodge room, but it still drew you and it still brought you back.
Absolutely.
So that's excellent.
And even to add to that point, it was even more helpful because of the fact that it was something that I was prepared for and ready to join, but I couldn't have it yet. I couldn't actually go in. So what ended up happening was I went back and I read tons of history about, not the secrets or anything. I really didn't want to spoil that part of it, but what I ended up doing was looking a lot at the history of things and, the medieval trade guilds and I got down into the more esoteric portions of it and learned a lot that way. So by the time I was 21, I was completely ready and totally thrilled to be part of it with my dad.
With your dad. Well, worth the wait then.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Well, that's brilliant. That's amazing. Can you guys tell me, I guess, in your own experiences, what have at this point been some of the most memorable experiences in Masonry that you guys have had?
For myself, I think the most memorable thing is when very worshipful brother Gary Reevy made my gavel for me this year. And when it was presented to me, I told him, I said it was a very special thing because it was custom made, and he makes them for a lot of different masters in different lodges. But to me, it was very special because it's my own personal gavel, and he did such a good job on it that, I told very worshipful Brother Reevy that I'd cherish it for the rest of my life because it's just, it means so much to me. So by far, that is my most memorable moment.
That's great. It's nice to have that, again, that special thing just made just for you. It carries more,
Yeah, and if anybody knows very worshipful Brother Reevy, they'll know he's such an exalted member of our lodge that it even means more that he made it.
And we just gave him an honor. Was it a 50-year past master pin or something like that?
Yeah.
That wasn't actually, he's been a 50-year past master for a few years, so it's been a long time coming.
That's amazing. Again, it's those amazing events in our journey in Masonry that we can really appreciate from the start of it all the way to the end of it and even beyond. So it's great to hear these kind of things. Ryan, I mean, again, you're fairly new into the craft. I mean, what, 5-6 years now?
Well, I'm 28 now. I joined at the minimum age of 21. And I've seen a lot of things. I've been we're part of a few other appended bodies. Yep. And we went through the York Rite together. And that was my actually one of my favorite moments was getting consecrated with my dad into the Order of the Temple. Yep. So once that ended up happening, it was just fantastic. And another really good memory is every summer actually at Muskoka Lodge number 360 in Bracebridge, they have a fraternal summer visit. And what ends up happening there is they do work. They'll actually, put the regalia on, have a barbecue and stuff, but they'll open lodge and they'll do some degree work. And last year they did a first degree. They initiated someone, and I was invited to do the junior warden's lecture there. And just the crowd involved in that was definitely the best, bar none, bit of work that I've been able to do in front of an audience of that size. And that's what made it so good. But side note, that's a fantastic lodge. Awesome. That might be one of the nicest lodges I've been in. What makes it so nice is that it's not only one of the biggest lodge rooms that I've been in, but they have a fiber optics constellation in the ceiling.
You were saying this last time. That's right.
Yeah, and what that does is, for instance, they turn all the lights off and everything kind of flickers. They have like somebody doing the animatronics in the back, and oh man, that's something special.
That's a real good show there.
It's a great show.
I have to put that on my map and
to-do list.
Yeah, that's
a
on
little
to-do
plug.
list.
Yeah, it's a bucket list item for sure.
Yeah, the 49th annual fraternal visit there is Friday, August 16th in Bracebridge.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I think I'm on vacation that week, so that should
Even better.
work
We'll see you there.
well.
I think we'll
Absolutely.
have to carpool there.
That's it. Bring the podcast and we'll go, right?
Absolutely. Even better.
Well, that's great, guys. Again, Masonry seems to also offer a lot more than just what we get from it in lodge. And often it can kind of hit your personal life. How do you gentlemen see it helping you guys personally in your own lives?
Well, I think the most interesting thing about Masonry for me is the esoteric aspect of it, and being a God-fearing person, I find that Masonry is somehow makes you more aware of the great architect of the universe. And like we were saying earlier, that the volume of sacred law is the owner's manual for the soul. And somehow going through Masonry actually physically helps you go through the volume of the sacred law. It gives you more background.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like sitting in church and just sitting there and listening to the message.
Yeah.
It's you're actually acting out the message.
Yeah.
You know, you're building the church within the man.
Absolutely.
So it's really interesting that way, and that's what I'm big getting out of it.
That's great. How about yourself, Ryan?
I guess for me, it's in more of a practical sense where it translates directly into my work. It gives me because when I first started, I was actually terrible at public speaking. I was just absolutely terrified.
I would
of
never
it.
have guessed that after
Yeah.
I met him.
Well,
for
that's the
first
thing.
time
And,
a little over a year
and
ago.
what's interesting is you're standing up there, going through your degrees. You're becoming an officer. You're getting involved in regular work. You're just getting used to for so long speaking in front of so many groups of people that get bigger and bigger in size, that at the end of the day you're in your business life and you're like, well, this isn't, I've done work in front of a grand master. Like, that's a crazy thing for I love doing that stuff. And when I look at everything in my work life, I'm like, well, it's not so high up like that. So it actually enables me to speak out better and have more confidence in speaking in front of large groups of people. That in the organization.
It's amazing, again, how Masonry can do that, because in my few years of this journey so far, same thing. I've seen other EAs come through the doors, and they're shy guys. But after 2 years of really becoming part of the brethren and the family, they're no longer shy. It's almost like we can't shut them up anymore. And that's a good thing, because they want to be involved. They want to, help their community out. They want to help their brothers out. They want to help their brothers' families out. And it's so fantastic. Again, I don't think everybody really understands or appreciates until they're a part of something like this, that they can really get it. So that's fantastic. And again, it's nice to hear it come from someone else. Masonry often has challenges, as we know. What are some of the challenges that you guys have had so far? I mean, you've just been installed worshipful master, so I know that you don't have many that you can think of just yet, but I'm sure the year will provide a few. Few worshipful masters that we've always talked to say balance is one of those things. The lineup of officers, sometimes at the last hour of the last minute, can also be a challenge. What have been some of the challenges so far, and what do you foresee that might be some challenges this new year?
Foreseeing challenges, I don't want to even entertain that. I don't want to tempt the Almighty Gods to do something about that. But for myself, I always think that the most challenging thing is the memory work. Being 55 and getting a little older, these things don't come as easily as maybe to some of the younger folk. I watch Ryan do some of his studying, and he can learn the junior warden's lecture in like a day.
Well, I was going to say,
it takes me 3 months.
Legend has it that Ryan learned it in like 25 minutes, and the rest of us have taken like 20 months.
Yeah, no. So yeah, the thing is people figure that because we're father son and we practice together or whatever, we really don't practice that much together. We do our own thing. But I find that for sure, I really have to work at it. I don't think I do too bad of a job, but I really, really have to stay on top of it, or I kind of mess up a bit. So hardest thing is absolutely the memory work.
Wow. And how about yourself?
For me, the biggest challenge, it would probably be just managing all the various nights that you have to be out. Just the constant work-life balance of everything. I'm getting married next year, so it's all about my my fiance. Oh, you got Masons again? I can't. There's specific expectations now, and there's someone else involved. So I do my best, and we do a fair bit of traveling, and she doesn't get too upset. But just trying to, oh, you got to plan the wedding tonight. You can't do that. Oh no, we got my cousin's baptism in Montreal, or my cousin's baby's baptism, or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
I got to be specific places now elsewhere, but I'm still managing it fairly well. It's just a matter of there's just so many barbecues and so many banquets and so many official visits. So
again, it's a common thing we hear from a lot of Masons that we've talked with and interviewed, or just sat with in the ante room and talked about. It's the balance act.
Absolutely.
Trying to figure out the important things that you want to be a part of, both here in Masonry and the concordant bodies, as well as the important things at home, right?
Absolutely.
And they always say Masonry, what the priorities are: home life first, with work, and then Masonry. Mm-hmm. And when you love it so much, it's hard to really put one, in the back of the other. You want to be a part of it all. So
definitely.
Again, it's nice to hear that.
The famous line of Annie Mason, when they approach a prospect.
It's only once a month.
It's only once a month. Yeah, okay. Well, we've been doing 3-4 nights a week.
Well, that leads into my next question. Again, how or what advice would you give a new Mason coming through the doors today?
For a new Mason coming in, they really got to take their time to absorb everything that goes on around them. Because when you come in, it's very overwhelming. And you want to try and gravitate towards the elders that know the rules, regulations, the intricacies of Masonry. For example, like when you become a master, how to wear your ring properly is a big thing.
Yep, that's a hot topic.
That's a hot topic because it's a small thing.
Yep.
It's a very small thing, but it's tradition. So how do you wear that ring?
Yep.
You got to seek out the advice from an elder, somebody's been around a bit and know these things. And I think one of the other things is that they have to realize they have to take their time and learn each step.
Yeah.
Because people come in, and as soon as they come in, they want to be the master.
Yeah, they want to rush through it all.
It's like today, kids want everything now.
Yeah.
And you look at like a job life, they don't want to be the guy at the bottom of the chain. They want to be the CEO.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get there. You got to build the foundation. And with Masonry and building the man within the church within the man, you have to build a proper foundation first, and you have to extend that foundation upwards so that you can build the superstructure within you.
Excellent, great. And again, Ryan, I mean, what's your take? What advice would you give new Masons? Maybe a slightly different perspective from your dad.
Yeah, I would say for them, just don't feel intimidated to get involved in things. I often find that they just show up for that one night a month, and that's okay. You have to make time, and once again, it's all about that balance. But if it's in your power to do so, I would certainly recommend to volunteer a little bit. Get out with, if your lodge is a blood donors clinic, get involved with that. Learn a small piece of work while you're learning your other stuff, or get involved with the people that are involved in your lodge. When you do that, you're going to find a place, and you're going to make some incredibly serious relationships with them, and they're going to be lifelong. And all lodges are like that when you get involved. That's simple as that.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Again, I think one of the things that you guys here in Malone have started from rumors around the mills in our district is putting a past master together with a new member, or every member of the officers or whatnot. Can you tell us a bit about that?
That was a brainchild of our long-term planning committee, which is headed up by Right Worshipful Walter Foster, and Worshipful Brother Bruce Etherington was involved in that too. And we sat down, we expanded upon it, and we've right now what we've done is we've taken past masters and we've put them as sponsors or mentors to everyone that's in an existing chair. And then when we have a member who becomes the director of ceremonies, right? Once he gets to that position, we put him in charge of the junior steward that's coming in, and we do it through perpetuity. So it's a great thing. I think everybody needs to know, like, remember yourselves. You didn't know how to hold the wand. You didn't know how many knocks and all these sorts of things. So now you have somebody that's watching out for you.
You've got a mentor program, a true mentor program.
Excellent.
It's not just learning, and helping you through the memory work. It's all the little things, little things that sink, that make that degree or that particular event, that much more
where
special.
To stand,
So that's
when
fantastic.
to salute, stuff
and you've
like
got
that.
a good buy-in from everybody. From
Great
the sounds
buy-in.
of it. Again,
Great
you guys
buy-in,
have been talking about it over the last year of Masonry, and it's been fantastic to listen to.
Yeah,
now we want to see the examples. That's
as
awesome.
worshipful master, I have my own mentor.
Yep.
He drew the short straws, and it's right worshipful Don Livingston, and well, I guess I'm going to stress test him a little bit. And he's got his work cut out for him. That's all I can say.
Well, that's brilliant. Again, it's nice to have that engagement, to assist the other members, and to keep them involved, and to have them be able to lean on someone, to call somebody when in need for everything Masonry, or maybe even something other than Masonry. So that's great. Well, let's, I guess, get into some of the stuff that Malone here does. Now, I know you guys are very active and involved in your community. Can you tell us some of the things you do within the community?
Oh man, there's so many.
Yeah.
We were doing before we were doing blood donors clinic around here. We're heavily involved in the Sutton Fair, the local fair here, the beer tent sales. We've done that for ages. We're in parades. We actually have an old tractor, like just a normal grass cutting tractor.
Yep.
And we've outfitted it so that it looks like Thomas the Train Engine.
Oh, no
and
way.
We have a full train in the back. Maybe 4 cars on the back of it, and somebody drives it. We got a little bell and a smoke machine that comes out of the front and everything. And we play music off it, and as we're going down the street, we're literally right outside the lodge here, we're handing out candy canes to children. So that's always a highlight.
You got to remember, we're towing the square and compasses with the letter G in it.
Yeah.
And one little kid was standing there one time and said, "Hey, Mom, what does the letter G stand for?" And she said, "Guys."
Guys. That's fitting.
Yeah, but I mean, just to add to that, there's so many unbelievable things. We're in charge of our district ice fishing tournament.
Yep.
So we're very involved in that every year. Just so many various things that we're.
You guys had the curling Bonzi?
Bond speed, yeah.
Again, and that was my first trip out here, and that was a lot. That was my first time on a curling pad.
Yep.
And boy, did I have tons of fun. Fantastic. So again, you guys don't just do, the things for the community, you do things for the district, you do things for charity, and that's what Masonry is all about.
Absolutely.
That's again, fantastic.
Yeah, and also Canada Day, we do hot dogs. I think we put out like 2,500 hot dogs.
No way.
Yeah.
And Snowfest. We have like a winter festival, and it's basically a similar version to, we do hot dogs in the winter as well. So we're doing hot dogs twice a year.
Well, that's a nice thing I like about these little small towns. They do a lot of community stuff, and it's nice to hear, all the groups and especially Masonry being a part of those community events. It really shows others what we're a part of and what we're doing. And
it's funny though, the weird thing is that we're such a tight knit community here that I think between like 4 guys in the lodge, they know everybody in town, right? So we're everywhere we are. It's always, oh hey, how's it going?
Well, I came and parked at the side of the building, and the neighbor waved as if he's known me forever, and I think I've only come here 3-4 times, and it's always in the middle of the night, or at least in the dark. So it's the first time I've been up here in the sun. So again, it's nice to have the community that really I guess accepts and has taken this fraternity in, and they know how much you guys do for them, and I'm sure they appreciate that very, very
Certainly.
much. Again, talking about community things and involvement of what your lodge does and such, you guys made a championship run this year. Almost as good as the great Raptors. You guys went out.
Did better than the
we
Raptors.
have. You know what? I think you did. We had a fantastic year this year under Right Worshipful Brother Scott Rickman and his district secretary, Worshipful Brother Mike Redman. And the traveling gavel was like the hot topic this year. Boy, did it bring out numbers. But I think early into the season, Malone already took one of the wins. Sharon, Zaradatha, and then it just kept going and going. Can you guys tell us a little bit about the involvement of how the lodge got you guys out and how you guys really took into it and where it went? Because at the end of the year, you guys came out champions. That was fantastic.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. We had a little run from Zaradetha, which we've kind of twinned with them. They've become good sports about it, and we've had some real good fun. But I got to hand the credit to Right Worshipful Walter Foster on that one, because he's the one who rallied the troops. And he says, hey, I really'd like to win the gavel. He mentioned that in the lodge. I'd really like to go out and win the gavel. And everybody was like, yeah, that sounds like fun. We travel anyways as a lodge. We do pretty good. And, when we started traveling, we were like 20, 22 guys. And I think we hit at one point 27, 28 guys. And it was just it was a riot, showing up and seeing Zaradetha with all their people and, do a little pre-screen. How many you got? And they'd say, well, we got 18. I go, well, we got 28.
Yeah, again, there was a few times that I was at the official visits, and you're looking around, and like you said, you see 18 guys, and you go, oh, geez, there's no way. And then there's a group that stands up, and typically, again, it was either Malone or Zaradetha that would outnumber those guys. So did you guys rent like a short bus or like a long bus or like charter everybody in? Like, how did you do it?
Everybody carpooled, and I think everybody
That's
had
awesome.
fun doing that. 3-4 guys in a car, and everybody had a good time. And so Zaradetha was real sports about it. And like I said, it really did bring the region together. And we had a lot of fun. So, hopefully we can do it again next year.
I guess it's on the plans as Worshipful Master to try to go for a two-peat.
Yeah, we got to make a couple major signings, but I think we can pull it off.
And I think just to add to that, it speaks to the harmony that we've tried to instill in the culture of the lodge. Like, even for instance, I'm telling you about that fraternal visit in the summer last year in Bracebridge.
Yeah.
Well, we still had, like, mind you, that's like an hour and something away from here north. Well, we still had 12 guys there from Malone.
That's fantastic.
And it just doesn't matter where it is. You'll always find Malone somewhere,
And again, you know what? It's those travels that you are stuck in the car, you're going together, and I think you really solidify those relationships you've made inside lodge and just outside
Definitely.
in the ante room. Even better when you're in the car for that half an hour, 40-minute drive or hour and change. You really get to know the person. And again, you really get to become even stronger in that relationship. So I think that's a lot of fun this year, this whole traveling gavel. It's always been a fun thing to partake in, but this year it was even tremendous because we were getting, like a minimum of 30 to 40 to 50 guys out to these official visits, not counting the actual members of the lodge hosting. So when you get the impact of that fellow craft or that EA or even that third degree guy going up, to see all those brethren out for them is even more impactful. So that was amazing too.
I think we had 60, something like almost 60 or whatever, brethren packed into Simcoe Lodge in Bradford. And that is a much smaller lodge than where we're sitting right now.
That's
and
amazing.
It was hot in there.
Yeah, I could imagine.
It was hot and cramped.
So, again, Worshipful Sir, you this year are the new Worshipful Master of Malone Lodge, recently installed a couple months ago at this point, right?
Yeah,
I
that's
know we're
correct.
on summer
Yeah.
break and whatnot.
Beginning of June.
We had a wonderful year out of Worshipful Brother Bruce Etherington. What type of things are you planning to do to carry the torch of what he set?
Well, I got some big shoes to fill. Brother Etherington did a good job, and all the masters before him, so I've got my work cut out for me. But there's a couple of things that I want to do is try and re-engage the old members that are not as active as I'd like them to be. There's a lot of people that are missing in action. We have them as members on paper, but we don't have them coming out to lodge. So one of my objectives is to try and get those dormant members, if you will, back into the lodge. And I also want to start doing more community outreach in terms of letting know who we are. Like, the Masonic Lodge actually exists here, because everybody drives by the building and they just see a walled up building. So I want to get out front, do a little more public relations stuff. And when we do the chip program for the kids at the Sutton Fair, I want to have a little booth there for Malone Lodge. Meet and greet the public and let them know what we do. And,
Excellent.
hey, you never know, might get a couple of members and, might tweak that person. who, like myself, 30 years ago didn't know anything about it or
Yeah, absolutely.
always wanted to do something.
And
So,
I think that speaks directly to just the sheer magnitude of what's being built here. Like there's big subdivisions all over the area right now,
Yep.
and they're all going in. And once again, he's saying people are driving by. Well, they might be new to the area. They might not know that, you're new to a community, but there's a door that will be open and welcome you. And,
Yep.
we'll take you in as family and truly make you feel like you're a part of this community you're moving to, which is why it's so nice.
That's
yeah, I also want to, we talked about, we had our little meeting, and we decided that we might tackle Rusty Mason's night.
Yep.
Bring back a couple of the old Masons that maybe just don't feel comfortable coming back.
Yeah, it's been a
And doing
while
that-
for them.
They
And
lost
Yeah,
a bit.
doing
Yeah.
that pancake breakfast.
Awesome.
And then maybe a daylight lodge, like on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then, a reintroduction, meet and greet kind of thing.
That's a fantastic.
So, yeah, we got a couple things we'd like to do, but we'll see how they pan out.
Well, that's great. Well, guys, I'm going to take a moment just to clear a quick secretary's desk. So this, I guess in 2 weeks now, the July 15th, we have Grand Lodge Communication happening downtown at the Royal York Fairmont Hotel. In there's going to be a lot of various sessions that you can sit in. They are all free. It's to all Masons. And the bigger day is the Grand Masters Banquet, which is going to be held on July 17th. I believe if you have not got your tickets at this point, you might be out of luck. They may be sold out, but you can still try to reach out very quickly to Right Worshipful Brother Scott Rickman or the District Secretary Mike Redman. And if you don't have their direct contact, I'm sure if you look at any of your summonses in the district, they can be found there. Going forward, July 20th, Tuscan Lodge, another fun group of guys out in the Newmarket area. They seem to be hosting their annual summer barbecue. That's going to be held at the Franklin Club out in Mount Albert, and the cost is $25 per person. If you have kids that are 12 and under, they're free. There'll be some beer and wine for sale as well, but it's a good fun time with the boys from Tuscan. And if you're interested in going to that, feel free to reach out to the junior warden there, which is Brother Philip Dawson. That pretty much wraps up our secretary's desk. I don't want to forward us into beyond the summer at this point, but we'll put a quick plug in for the Rising Sun. They have the annual Max Dean golf tournament coming up. It's in honor of a fallen brother, and that's going to be held September 7th, first Saturday back after Labor Day weekend. But please, everybody, enjoy your summer first. And if you need any more information, you can reach out to me because I'm the chairman of that particular event as well. All right, brethren, one more last point about Grand Lodge communication this year. We just got an email out, actually today, from Right Worshipful Brother Scott Rickman in regards to our hospitality suite. This year we will be hosting a hospitality suite. However, we are looking for a couple volunteers to assist. We need to find a couple of brethren who might be able to assist on Tuesday, July 16th, as well as Wednesday, July 17th, between various hours, who will have a Smart Serve certificate, as well as this year with some of the restrictions and rules that we have within Grand Lodge. We're looking to have a couple of volunteers assist with being tilers, just to make sure that the members entering are actual Masons and they have their dues card and such like that. And that would be it. So again, this clears our secretary's desk for this time. Well, welcome back, brethren. Again, we're here with Senior Warden Ryan Schnoflak and Worshipful Brother Mark Schnoflak. And I guess we're just back in Malone Lodge here. We're talking about all the wonderful things that you guys have journeyed through the craft and the things you have community engagement and involvement with. As I look in this room, and it's a brilliant room. It's fantastic. One of my favorites in the district. I'm staring at Most Worshipful Brother E.T. Malone. I'm guessing a Grand Master at once upon a time. It says here July 18, 1988 to July 1900. That's pretty impressive. I don't know. I've again only visited this lodge a couple times, and I see this big portrait on the wall, and I can only imagine. Do you guys have any fun facts that you could share with us about these particular folks from the past?
Well, most worshipful brother Elias Talbot Malone, he was actually an Irish immigrant who came here when he was here and everything. He was in downtown Toronto, living there. He passed the bar, became a lawyer, ended up getting heavily involved in Masonry. He's actually an honorary Grand First Principal of Holy Royal Arch.
Wow.
And he's also before he was Grand Master, he was actually most eminent, Supreme Grand Master, most eminent knight, E.T. Malone. So he was also the top of Knights Templar.
Amazing.
So he in 1913 he was given the name of this lodge by Most Worshipful Brother Aubrey White, is who it was who granted that. And another little fun fact is, I'm junior warden last year, and I get my key to the lodge, so I come in on my way home. I want to kind of get a feel for everything, where everything is, and I go upstairs into our archive library, and I'm looking around, and as I'm about to leave, I look over and I see a plaque of a stone. And I go and I look at this stone, and there's a little, behind the door, mind you, so it's kind of hidden, and there's a little plaque there, and on that plaque it said, from E.T. Malone. So this past Grand Master of our lodge's namesake went to, I believe it was like 1923 or something. He ended up going to Jerusalem, so think about how difficult that must have been back in the day.
Back then.
You're still using military aircraft long before commercial flight was invented. So he ended up somehow traveling there. Basically, this stone was part of Zedekiah's cave, and Zedekiah's cave was part of a large tunnel system under the city of Jerusalem. And apparently legend has it that this was the actual site from where they took the limestone to build King Solomon's temple. And also there is some connection to the escape of the Knights Templar during the siege of Jerusalem. So pretty interesting stuff there. So that was sitting here, and it was pretty impressive.
That's amazing. I mean, the history that you get when you see big portraits up, and you kind of wonder what and where they've come from and their journeys and their times. And then you hear a story like that, just amazing. And this was just behind a door.
Mm-hmm. And it's coming downstairs now. For sure.
I was going to say, we dusted it off, cleaned it up, and put it on display.
But I was throwing it back when I saw that. It was just amazing. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
I thought, as Worshipful Master, that as soon as you became Worshipful Master, you got an oil painting like E.T. Malone here, and apparently I was wrong.
Well, Worshipful Sir, we had a couple of discussions before we turned these mics on, and you told me something about some coin thingy that you were looking at trying to do. Can you tell us more about that as you get into that, again, the East, and carry this lodge forward? What is this coin thing you're talking about?
Well, I was going to mint a coin to commemorate my inauguration, if you will.
Oh, boy.
As Worshipful
No
Master.
oil painting, but we'll make a coin.
Yeah,
we got
really.
it.
Hey, you can't get the painting.
Inauguration.
No, I thought it would be a little fun thing for the members of Malone Lodge here to have these little coins. I would put my name on it and a little snowflake, right? A little parody on the name.
Yep.
And on the other side, square and compasses, and make it like a challenge coin like what they have in the military.
Okay.
And basically what happens is everybody gets one of these coins, and if you're a member of Malone and have a coin, and you're at a bar, you can put the coin down and challenge somebody. And if they don't have their coin, they have to buy you a beer.
You got to buy the round. And
They
if they
gotta
do
buy
have
beer.
the coin, what happens?
And if they have the coin, you got to
pull it
buy
out, you got to buy it.
Yeah. So you got to be careful not to pull it out in too many in front of too many Malone
You got
member
to be
lot.
strategic with it.
Yeah,
right?
because you got 10 guys in a room. That's a pretty expensive round.
That's awesome. Well, again, it's fantastic and great to hear all the wonderful things you guys are doing up here in Malone together as father and son combination, moving towards the East. One already, one coming soon, and all the fun things that you guys do as a fraternal organization here in the community, and the torch that you're going to carry on, and I'm sure for thousands of more years, this lodge is going to be strong and healthy, and just be a district lodge that we can look up to, and just appreciate all the work and hard work you guys put in. So that's fantastic.
Well, I'll just leave with one last thought. Being Worshipful Master is pretty great. I mean, going through Masonry is an experience, and it's a really good thing for you, right? But to enjoy it with your son coming through behind you is even more special.
Absolutely. And I express those sentiments as well. Just kind of like, now it's going to be, I'm always looking at my dad in the next chair, but now I'm going to be looking at him from across the room, and I'm going to start looking at that saying, I'm potentially only about a year away now, and that's going to be unbelievable. We're really going to be having a special night there, because
the worst thing watching my son behind me is that as I'm doing my work and I look back at him, he just looks over and shakes his head. Apparently he's not going to do it the same way I did it.
No, definitely not.
Well, regardless on how it comes together, we know it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this journey take place for both of you. We are really going to be here to support you both, and we can't wait for that next day. Again, we're not looking to fast forward any one particular year, but it's going to be a special year, as you, worshipful sir. And I think just when you both are sitting in the East together, I think that's just going to be
it's going to be a surreal moment.
And
for
I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I don't know again all my historic facts, but I think it might be the first time we might have a father-son combo sitting in the East, potentially in York District, since it's
in
fairly
York
new
District. I don't know. I vaguely remember somebody in York District ahead of us that's doing it, but for sure it's the first time in Malone Lodge's history.
Definitely since
Excellent.
1913, but I'm sure it's happened over the years, just based on circumstances. But once again, there's something special about seeing your son go into Masonry as a Lewis recipient, and then it gets even better when you're that installing master. Yeah. But then it goes even further, and it's even more incredible that we've been allowed to sit in the East together. It's just going to be fantastic.
Well, again, guys, it's been a lot of fun. It was a great pleasure to sit with you guys again and go over some of these questions and ask you what your journey was like and the experiences you guys had. And again, the great group of guys here you have at Malone. We really want to thank you again for your time tonight. And I guess with that, we're just going to give you a quick plug again with our new Facebook page that we have, or actually our Facebook group, The First Three Knocks, which is now available on pretty much most podcast carriers. And we're getting a lot of great feedback from within the district and beyond, as far as I think now Australia listening to us, UK, wow. Germany, different parts of the world, Philippines also
over, yep.
very supportive. Yep. So we've also just created the first3knocks@gmail.com. So if you'd like us to come up and visit, or give us a suggestion as to a topic you want to discuss, maybe set up some fraternal visits. I know we got some pretty big plans set in the next couple of years. So it's real nice to have you guys all out there support us. Again, thank you guys tonight. Steve Sprott, our wonderful producer, thank you for coming tonight. And this wraps up the First Three Knocks.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of The First Three Knocks. Happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again.